Yeah, the duo. Thank you, duo. You guys are awesome. And I just want to say that I'm really enjoying the magic screen where you can see the windows through. I want to thank my beloved husband up there who does things like that for us all the time. So, thank you. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of my most favorite teachers when I was learning how to be a minister at Unity Institute, Rev E J Niles. Now, I could go on forever and ever, but let me just say one thing. This woman and her insight and her teaching changed my life and made it possible for me to actually understand the Bible in a way that made it alive for me and also reconciled any inconsistencies so that I could be a thinking person as well as a feeling person and teach Christianity. So please, I'm not going to say any more, and you're going to enjoy what she has to offer. Let's welcome Reverend E J Niles.
Ready for me?
Ready for you.
All right, okay. Oh. It's always so interesting to be sitting here and then you turn around and look at all these wonderful faces. Yeah, and some of you, I had the opportunity to see some wonderful faces yesterday too, didn't I? I'm going to quote for you something that I've been using in my teaching. And it's from Christopher Fry. And he said, "Thank God our time is now, when wrong jumps up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us till we take the longest stride we've ever taken. The enterprise is exploration into God." Now, how many of you here would doubt that we have a whole lot of what we might call wrong jumping up to meet us everywhere? Okay. But who would think that to find the answer is exploration into God? Now, what in the world could we mean by exploration into God? You may have heard the story about the little girl who's sitting here with her crayons and she's busily drawing, and her mother says to her, "What are you drawing?" She said, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And her mother said, "Well, no one knows what God looks like." She said, "They will now." But isn't it true that sometimes we have had other people or times in our life who thought that they knew what God was about, and you were going to make sure that they knew what you knew, or backwards. The whole idea is, what do we know about God anyway? My husband never liked the word God. He said it has too much baggage. Too many people have these ideas about what God is like that's not really a very good idea. Well, how would you begin to explore into something when there are so many different ideas about what the word God means? In fact, there are probably a lot of words, too. But Mr. Fuller said universe, not the universe, but universe. But Mr. Fuller said, you use the word God, that's a noun. But the divine is a verb. Now, I also have come across something that I really like. And it said God is just the name we give to the ceaseless, restless, full of energy in the universe. Creative, full of energy in the universe. Now, okay, maybe we're getting close, because energy takes many different forms, right? Are we all energy? Isn't energy all around us? So if we say, well, maybe if we can start thinking of the divine by whatever name we want to call it, that we're getting close. So, okay, if we can get close enough to say, how do I explore into God? Well, first of all, I think the most important thing to understand is that each one of us has our own personal understanding of what that divine means to us. And we can try to tell someone else. We can share our feelings about it. We can share our experience about it. But can we really tell somebody else what God is to us? Very difficult, isn't it? I like this poem. It came from a man named Herbert Carruthers. And he said, a haze on the far horizon, the infinite tender sky, the ripe, rich tint of the cornfields and the wild geese saying hi. And all over the upland and lowland, the charm of the goldenrod. Some of us call it autumn, and others call it God. Or like tides on a crescent sea beach when the moon is new and thin. Into our heart, high yearnings come welling and surging in, come from the mystic ocean wherein no foot has trod. Some of us call it longing, and others call it God. A fire mist and a planet, a crystal and a cell, a jellyfish and a saurian, and caves where the cavemen dwell, and then a sense of law and beauty, a face turned from the clod. Some call it evolution, and others call it God. Longing, evolution, autumn, all of those things represent what God means to us. But the one thing that we do know is that we each have our own particular experience, our own particular connection with God. And what I need to know for myself, and what I believe to be true for the rest of us, is that we are here on this planet now on a journey that is leading us to an understanding of why we're here, what we're here to do, and what is our connection with this thing that we have to come up with our own word or own understanding about it. Because deep within the heart of every individual, I believe, is a longing. There's this sense that there's something more that I need to find. There's something more that I need to do. Well, people have tried very many different ways to work with that longing and to answer that longing and to find out what it really is. But what I believe is true is that this longing, this desire within us, this thing that says there has to be more, has to be more for me, has to be more for the world. That is that essence of us, perhaps the very spark of the universe. No matter what works for us, and we find what it is that works for us. And sometimes it takes us a long time, doesn't it? Some of us live long years before we're able to identify what it is that this longing in us is about. This desire to, well, there's something more. You know, James Dillett Freeman had a poem that I like, and it has to do with oak trees and oceans and deserts. What he says, there is more to us, yet more. Deep within each one of us, whether we are aware of it or not at the moment, there's this restlessness, this idea of, you know, I just don't know what it is. But there's something in me that wants to know more of who I am. So, okay, what does that mean in terms of not only my life, but the life of the people around me? What if we really came to understand the whole idea that you've heard of the gods deciding to try to hide divinity, and they thought of all the places, and they thought, well, the only place that we can put it where it's very hard for people to find is within us. You've probably heard that. So what if we really, really understood the divine in us? Now that doesn't mean that I am to the place, or most of us are to the place that we're aware of that all the time. We have other kind of moments, don't we? But once in a while we have that little moment of being able to touch into something. What if we knew that that was God in us trying to express God's self through us? There's another story I like to tell. There was a family who had a little boy who was very ambitious, and he loved to go places. He would run away, but it wasn't run away because he just was wanting to explore. So they got used to it, and they figured he didn't run too far away, so they kind of watched him. And down the street, there was a young family whose mother was experiencing Alzheimer's, and they had to watch her very carefully because sometimes she wandered away. Well, one day, the young couple looked up and said, "Oh, I wonder where Jimmy is." "Oh, well, let's go look for him. We know some of the places he likes to go." Well, they go out looking for him, and he comes back meeting them. And so they said, "Where have you been?" He said, "Well, I went over to the park and sat on the bench." I said, "Oh, why did you go to the park?" "Well, I wanted to see if I could find God." On the other hand, the mother, they have to come looking for her. They find her sitting on the bench at the park. And they said, "Mother, why are you here?" She said, "I came here to find God." And they said, "Did you find God?" And she said, "Yes, but he was younger than I thought he would be." And the little boy, when they asked him if he found God, said, "Yes, but she was older than I thought she would be." What if we really knew in this song, "I see God in every face"? What if we knew that we're not only here to explore into God in our own life, in our own longing, and our own need to find out who we are and why we're here, but we're here to share that with other people so that we can start building this idea of understanding that, yes, we, each one of us, have our own understanding of who the divine or God or universe or autumn or longing is to us, but that it's very important that we start building that critical mass where we all begin to understand that when we know that it's unique to us, but it comes together in oneness. It comes together in understanding that we can reflect to each other what God is. We can reflect to each other what it is to be here. We can encourage each other in the idea that we are here because we are here to express God. Well, now some of you heard yesterday when we talked about exploration into God. And you say, what does it have to do with Bible? Because it is about Bible. And I know that there are some people who think that maybe if they start reading the Bible, they can find God. Well, I don't know how many of you have tried to go to the Bible to see if you could find God, but what I discovered a long time ago was if I started looking for God in the Bible, it became very, very confusing because the God of Genesis 2 was very different from the God of Genesis 1, right? So it took me a long time to be able to come back and own the Bible because I gave up on it. I started reading the stories, and it talked about some of the terrible things that God did. And I said, I don't want that to be my God. That's not the God I want. I want a loving God. I want a God that's bigger and kinder and better than I am. Okay. But I discovered that what has happened over the ages is that we as human beings have continued to evolve, and to evolve from the standpoint of who we believe we are and definitely what we believe the divine is. Because actually, some people say, well, why do I even need God in my life at all? Well, it depends on how you're going to define it. If you're going to define God as that longing in me that is calling me to be more than I am, is calling me to become aware of the divinity within me, yes, we do need to explore into God. But we don't have to call this divinity by any particular name. Now, what I believe also from my own journey has been that I have changed as I've gone over my life. You know, when I was a child, you know, I thought God was this great big person up in the sky someplace that I could pray to at night when I lay me down to sleep, right? And then as I got a little older, I wanted to have a God that would, you know, be on my side, you know. You know, when I had problems, I wanted God to be there to take up for me, to comfort me when I was sad. But the more I began to understanding how we have evolved in human beings, the more I understand that we are on a journey of exploration into the divine or God by whatever name. I have a favorite author, a Jesuit named Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. And some of you may know Teilhard. He was a Jesuit who was exiled from France, where he grew up, because he was teaching things like spiritual evolution at a time when the Jesuits and the Catholic Church were not very happy with that. But he had such wonderful ideas. And one of the things he said, because the world is always unfinished and always ahead of us, we are in a constant exploration of the universe and ourselves. What if we could begin to see our lives and our spiritual journey as an exploration into ourselves? And if we started that exploration into ourselves, that we would begin to understand that we are divine. That this presence of God that we in unity affirm every Sunday is the presence within me, presence within you. And that understanding that the journey is about learning a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. We're born babies and we become children and we continue to grow into something else. Were we absolute perfect as babies? Right? Were we absolutely perfect as children, whatever we are? Were we absolutely perfect, whatever we are in the place we're in now? Yes, we are. Does it mean we're through growing? No, it doesn't. We are in this constant exploration of learning who we are. And to understand that even people who think, well, I don't need God, I don't like God, or you remember there was a time when we went through God is dead, you know. Well, what God was dead? The God we had always been taught was what God was like? Or was it the idea that there is a part of us that is eternal? And the only thing that's dead is the idea of a God who was absolute, a God who punished, a God who did all these things. But if we're able to see the Bible in a way where we can separate it out and find out exactly when the different things were written, we begin to see a picture of how we as human beings begin to change our perception of what God was like. And here's the beauty of it. The same thing that has gone on within whole of human society through thousands and thousands of years goes on inside of us. It's mirrored inside of us. So the more we're able to see from whence we have come and to see that, yes, we are continuing to evolve, we're continuing to grow, we're continuing to understand whatever we need to understand to make ourselves aware that we are here to express God by whatever name we want to call it. Now, you know, James Freeman again, he tried to explain it. He called it the evolution of God, and again, we're always constantly trying to explain it. We're trying to draw our picture, like a little girl, right? Okay, he said God may be thought of as a force. God is a force that acts like a person. God may be thought of as a person, but God is a person that acts like the law. God may be thought of as law, but God is a law that acts like love and beyond. God may be thought of as love and beyond love lies the infinite range on range. But now even the peaks of love lie hidden in the mist. We affirm love is all there is, love is all we need, love is what we have here. And we believe that, and I believe that. But what if we really understood that love itself is something that's continuing to evolve? And we could just hold on to that, as wonderful as the idea of love is now. What if we knew it was continuing to grow and develop and to be and to act things that we can't even imagine yet? I'm going to quote Teilhard de Chardin again. This is the quote that I heard the first time from this writer. And I didn't know who it was, but I said, I don't know who that is, but I want to find out more. And so this is what he said. He said, after we have tamed the winds and the waves and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And for the second time, we will have discovered fire. The second time we've discovered fire. Okay. I like the idea of beginning to find ways to explore God, to explore the divine, to explore that part of me that knows there's something more. And to say, and it's even more than we can imagine. More than we can imagine. Just think of being able to wake up every morning and saying, I know that there are wonderful things in my life, but there are a lot of more wonderful things that I haven't even imagined yet. And so I take it one day and I say, okay, today I'm going to consider the divine within me as being love. And I'm going to consciously, everyone I meet, send love. I'm just going to try to be love to them without a word. Ken Wilber says you can shout from the heart. Okay. We can shout from our heart without ever making a sound. What if I decided today I am going to explore into that divinity within me by choosing love? Okay, well, if another morning I wake up and I said, oh, what if I want to explore God by being aware of all of nature, of being aware of the stars and the cosmos and the beauty around me? I can do that. That's exploring unto God. What if I decided that to explore into God and to serve the people I meet, serve the people that are in my life? Because what it would actually mean is we would probably have to, on this individual scale, be aware that the wrong is going to come up to meet us everywhere, because sometimes our journey is like that, isn't it? But it doesn't mean that that's the way it is. It means here is what I am being shown that I need to pay attention to in my life. And every time I'm able to do that, and I'm able to catch myself and forgive myself when I don't, I'm able to say I'm continuing my journey to explore what it means to be God. Now, I'm thankful, I'm grateful that I was able to find a way to see evolution of the idea of the perception of God in the Bible. Because I believe that a lot of people, as I, grew up where the Bible could be used against you. There are a lot of good things in the Bible, but sometimes what I discovered, I used to tell the students, the Bible is the most bought, least read book in the world. And there's a good reason, because if you try to read it the way it's put together now, it doesn't make any sense. But if we can grasp the idea that the Bible, along with other sacred texts, but the Bible is more what I'm familiar with, if we can see when the passages were written, we could see what the predominant thinking of the time when those passages were written, we could begin to see how we as humankind in our total journey have continued to create new and different ways of exploring unto God. And the beauty of it is, it not only makes our own life better, it's contributing to what I call a critical mass of consciousness that's going to absolutely make a difference in our world. See, I'm a great optimist. I've lived long enough to know that I can look back over my life and see there are a whole lot of things that have changed. Sometimes people say to me, well, it doesn't look like we've made much progress. But you know what? Only those who are ignorant of history can slander their own times. That's forbear. And if we are aware of where we have been and from whence we have come as human beings, total species, we can also say, and I can see that in my life, then I think we're getting close to finding out what it means to explore into God to explore into that divinity with us. Know that even whatever we find today and tomorrow, that there's more beyond. More beyond. Love in the midst. Yes, I like to consider that love is God. And our perception of God now is total love. And that's the kind of idea that I can take with me and I can hold on to when it looks like everything around me is falling apart. And we look at the news and say, I don't want to hear that anymore. And we can say, right now, we as a whole society are in a place where we are about to make a momentous leap that's going to take us into the realization that we are more than we have thought we could be, that we are, in no doubt about it, divinity expressing. So what I would like to do today is I would like to leave you with the challenge of make an effort to consciously say, where's my journey taking me now? What am I, which particular path do I want to take to explore into God? And then share it with each other. I behold the Christ in you. I behold the Buddha in you. I behold divinity in you. Yeah, that's the little boy saying, he's older than I thought. And the mother saying he was younger than I thought. Because God, divinity, whatever we want to call it, can be to us whatever we need at the time. So that's what I'd like to leave you with. The whole idea is we are so much more than we can even imagine right now. But the best is yet to be. There's a verse from 1 John that says, Beloved, we are God's children now, but it does not yet appear what we shall be. So we continue to explore. God bless you.
Thank you, EJ. Let's take an offering for unity. I invite you to take your tithe and your love offering in your hand. Think about giving freely, fully from the heart.